Welcome back to another episode of Poncha Talk, our podcast about remote work, digital nomad lifestyle, and entrepreneurship to hopefully inspire you to live that flexible life that you've always dreamed of, maybe. My name is Ellie. I'm host of Poncha Talk, and I'm currently located here on Madeira. And today in this episode, I want to take some time to talk to you about reorienting yourself in life, maybe like a career change or just a completely fresh start. Because, that's what I am doing here at the moment. So for those of you that are not fully up to speed on my life journey, you can either go back and listen to previous episodes if you'd like, or I'll give you the cliff notes now. So over the last 4 years almost, I've been working in remote jobs, mostly full-time employed, some freelance experience in between as well. And I was working remotely from home in Germany for parts of it, but then also used that opportunity and flexibility a lot to travel. And I kind of lived like a little bit of a digital nomad lifestyle, staying at different co-livings around the world, meeting great people along the way, having great experiences. But I realized eventually that really the only thing about that remote job that I really liked was that I could work remote. So eventually I decided to quit that job and I wanted to start looking for something that gives me more purpose in life. And yeah, here we are. So, like I said, I'm still on the journey, and I don't have all of the answers yet, but I think that's actually one of the most important things when you do want to, reorient yourself is you have to acknowledge the fact that it's okay to not have all of the answers. This uncertainty, it's kind of part of any personal growth journey, in my opinion, because in order to change something in your life, you have to be open to new opportunities. And if you go into it having an exact plan of what you're going to do, you're going to miss out on a lot of opportunities that may, come up during the way. So uncertainty is definitely part of the process. It's important. It's an important part of the process, but it's also a very challenging part of the journey. And this is why career changes like this can feel quite overwhelming. And starting over is hard, especially when you're a person like me that is usually very structured in life and kind of like a perfectionist, actually, because there's always the fear of failure. There's always like the financial uncertainty. There's societal pressure that kind of takes a lot of mental strength to overcome, because success in like the traditional way that society sees it is tied to climbing, the corporate ladder. It's not exactly tied to climbing a mountain on Madeira during regular office hours. But that's what I'm doing. And for some people, that's really strange. And I was actually just last week, I was at a community lunch here on Madeira. And I was talking to these two older German ladies that were also there. And they were super nice and friendly, and just here traveling for a little bit. But they'd asked me what I did. And I was like, oh, I'm taking some time off from my job. And they're like, oh, but you can't live off your parents forever, huh? I'm like, oh no, I'm not living off my parents. I saved up. I'm okay. And they're like, oh, but your savings are going to end eventually. What are you going to do? And I'm like, well, I'm trying to embrace the journey, in order to find something new to do. It was funny in the moment, and I kind of laughed about it with my friends afterwards, because it was like, oh, the closed-minded Germans. But it does nudge at me a little bit, situations like that. And that was not the first time people say something like this. So like I said, it takes a lot of personal strength to work through that, I think. And I just kind of have to remind myself over and over again that I don't need to have everything figured out at the moment. And if you are also in the middle of this, just know that it's normal to feel a little lost at times. But I have been working on feeling less lost, let's say, because trusting the process is one thing, but you can't just expect for everything to fall into place randomly without any effort. I have worked on different areas. I have done a lot of self-reflection and like personal assessments for myself. First of all, I talked to different people about what the best way would be to go about that, and have tried different things to kind of get some clarity in my head, in my mind, of what I want to do. I looked back, for example, at like all the stations in my career so far, not just at the job titles, but at about each position, what were the things that I enjoy and what were the things I didn't enjoy. For example, I really didn't enjoy the hard cut consulting industry so much and all the political games. But for example, I did enjoy being like a team lead and onboarding new team members, for example. So those may be skills that I can transfer into different areas. So I think it's always important to look at what were the things you enjoyed, and because maybe that can be useful in a different area as well. Also, my mom had suggested to me to look back at my life at the time when I feel like I was the most happiest so far. And it's funny, for me, that was, I think living in Florida, living by the beach, playing volleyball almost every day, and having just like a great crew and community there. And work was secondary at the time. I was just doing part-time work and studying. So maybe that's not the best pointers in what I want to do career-wise, but it does tell me like that I really value being in a nice place, a warm place actually, and especially value having like a nice culture there and a good community and connections with people. That being said, Madeira is not a bad choice for me, so I think that was a good move, because I've talked about this before and I'm not going to go into detail in this episode, but the Madeira community is really lovely. If you want to know more about it, check out my episode from 2 weeks ago, I think it was, where I talk about finding a digital nomad destination and why Madeira is so nice. But anyways, moving on. So I did some reflection, I did some self-assessment. Also, a friend of mine told me that in order to kind of figure out what I really enjoy doing, ask myself 3 questions. What am I good at? What is my expertise? And what am I interested in? So what am I good at? For example, I think my people skills are quite good. I also am, like I said, a very structured person. So I'm really good at planning and organizing things. Anything from like events, parties, travels, whatever it may be. I enjoy doing that a lot too, and planning. And then I think I'm also pretty good at adapting to new situations and learning new skills. Like, I've traveled so much, I think being adaptable is a pretty good strength of mine. Then I looked at my expertise, and that was a bit more difficult because I kind of realized that the last couple of years I spent time building expertise in an area that I'm not really interested in, agile project management and software development. I don't know. I don't want to do that anymore, but I have the expertise, and I think now the challenge is to see how I can take that expertise and apply it elsewhere anyway, because it may not be exactly the same in a different field, but again, project management and like leading teams, things like that are skills that you can use in pretty much any environment. So it wasn't a total waste of time. And thinking about it, I also realized that I have more expertise than just like the certificates that I acquired in my previous job. And I realized that talking to somebody the other day, that I have actually also unknowingly really built quite the expertise in the whole remote work and co-living setting. So I was talking to somebody who's starting a co-living here on Madeira actually, and he heard a little bit of what I've did previously, and he was so interested in getting my opinion on his business. And I was like, oh, okay, this guy really thinks I know what I'm talking about. That's cool. So yeah, there's an expertise I didn't know I had, because for me it was just kind of a given, but I'm building on it now with this podcast. I'm also started a LinkedIn newsletter to build on it more professionally, in a more professional way, on the whole topic of remote work, because it's quite popular topic at the moment. And then, like I said, the last question is, what am I interested in? Because maybe I was in the wrong area and I'm interested in fields that I don't have expertise yet, but you can always work on that and acquire new skills. And for me, my interest really, of course, I'm interested in travel. Also really interested in more creative outlets. I realized this is why I'm doing the podcast. I'm really enjoying every bit of it, from like preparing the episodes, recording, editing, publishing it on social media. Like I said, I've also done like blogging and newsletter writing, digital creativity, I call it. And social media, really things that I'm interested in. So I actually decided recently that I have started a digital marketing course online now to build expertise in my interests, because I feel like that could really come in handy in really whatever I do next. So I kind of asked those questions. I drew a little mind map, connected the dots, and yeah, now, like I said, I'm trying to take some actions to bring me into the right direction based on them. Because I think taking action is really important along this journey as well. You don't just want to be in limbo and writing down thoughts every day. You kind of have to go out, assess the situation. Where are you at the moment? What are the resources available? What are the options and opportunities out there? And, like I said, I've done that in a little bit in the last couple of months. I think I can do more of it in the future. But like I said, I'm building skills now. I'm taking online courses. I've done a lot of networking here, talk to people who inspire me. And I'm getting involved in new experience, like I did with the hosting at the co-living before, or like I'm doing now with my newsletter and the podcast. So those are all small actions that I'm taking. It may not look like big steps, but you never know what doors it can open in the future. And it's definitely new experience that I'm getting. Of course, eventually I'll have to figure out a way to make money off of it. So yeah, but career changes can be quite expensive. And like I said, there's always like the financial uncertainty that's in the back of your head while you're going through this journey. And I have saved up and I have made like a financial rough draft for the next couple months to see how long my savings would last and how much of my savings I want to spend on this journey. But also things changed along the way. Now that I'm not at the co-living anymore, I'm spending much more on accommodation than I had planned originally. I am thinking of picking up I don't know, maybe a side hustle of some sort, maybe some remote work again, part-time, so that I am just a little more stable and a little more comfortable and not constantly have my inner critic in my mind telling me to stress out about it. Because I think overcoming that like inner critic is the biggest challenge for me on this journey, because it may all look super nice and easy on social media when I'm hiking in Madeira again and things like that. But a lot of times my journaling starts with what the F is going on? What am I even doing here? Was this a mistake? Like, these questions are there, and I'm learning to like reframe those thoughts into more positive thoughts by, for example, journaling regularly, because I may start with what the F am I doing? But then like as I continue my journal entry for the day, I kind of work myself back to positive thoughts and seeing it as an opportunity and thinking of all the wins and good things that have already happened to me on this journey. But it does take some strength, telling yourself that failure doesn't have to be the end. Failure is an opportunity. It's just part of the process, and you have to keep going, try something new, learn new skills, make new collections. Because really, it's only a failure if you get stuck, I think, if you stop moving forward. But we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. I've said this before, moving forward is easier said than done. A lot of things on these personal growth journeys are always easier said than done. But here's some things that have helped me in the past. I think, for one, it's important to realize that you're not on this journey starting from zero. I already have experiences. I have connections in the area, and I think it's always important to know your worth and your skills so that you don't feel totally hopeless. And, you can do this step. You have experience. It may not be exactly the same, but, everybody in life is just kind of winging it. This is one thing I learned when I was working in consulting. You can reframe anything to look like you have experience in that area. We're all just winging it along the way. So don't talk yourself down that you're starting from zero, but you're starting with a lot of life experience already, and you can take that next step and try something new and bring something valuable to the table with it. To make this a little easier, it is always important to have a good support system that encourages you, that reminds you of, all the things you've already done in life. So I'm very thankful for everybody at home that is supporting me on this journey, and also all the new connections that I've made here in the community that are so supportive and open-minded to try new things and encouraging me to take new opportunities, because it's important not to be afraid to experiment along this journey. Don't worry too much about what others may think of you. I have to say, I'm kind of proud of myself because I used to be somebody who is so worried about what other people think. Like, I remember even growing up, when I go running, my face always gets like really red. I would only go running at like super early in the morning where I knew nobody could see me because I told my parents, what if somebody sees me running? It was stupid. But anyways, like I said, I used to be always so afraid of what people think, but I've grown a lot in that area, I think, actually, because now I'm just kind of, I'll record a podcast. I don't care what other people think. Maybe this is the most confusing episode ever, but at least I'm trying it out and I will learn from it for sure if it is a failure or if it is a success. Either way, it's a small step forward. I'm doing something. I'm not going to make a living off of it, starting tomorrow, but at least, doing something is better than doing nothing. So to wrap it up, I think reorienting yourself is quite a process, and you can't forget that. Like I said in the beginning, it takes time. You have to be willing to try new things. You have to be patient with it. Because also what I learned from networking here and talking to people, everyone who has been able to, turn their passion into a career now or has a coaching business or they build something for themselves, it's taken them years from like when they first started to where they are now. It's been years of a journey. So you can't expect overnight success in building something new. And I think that's why it's totally fine to feel a little lost in the beginning and just take it one thing at a time. And remember that, your next step, it may just be a stepping stone. It will most likely only be a stepping stone. It doesn't have to be the final destination yet, but it'll take you to the right direction so that eventually you'll get there. Trust the process and just try it out. So thank you for listening to today's episode of Poncha Talk. I hope this wasn't too confusing and you could take something out of it. If you've had similar experiences or are on this journey at the moment, I'm always happy to hear your thoughts. So if you have any other advice to share, please drop a comment below. And as always, any like or subscribe to the podcast makes me very happy. So thank you for all of your support. I hope this episode resonated with some of you at least. And I will see you next week. Thank you for listening. Bye.